Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. So this Saturday we've got a really good card going down at the MSG in New York, headlined by Terence Crawford versus Egidijus Kavaliauskas. This is a welterweight fight and Terence Crawford's WBO welterweight title will be on the line, and obviously on the undercard you have Teofimo Lopez versus Richard Commey for the IBF lightweight title. That is the fight of the night in my opinion, and I will do a separate prediction for that fight. And I also believe Michael Conlan is on the undercard as well, so a decent card for the end of the year, put on by Top Rank, so fair play to them. Looking forward to this one. But let's talk about Terence Crawford versus Egidijus Kavaliauskas. Now obviously Terence Crawford going into this fight is the more proven commodity, and he's a big favourite, and let's be honest, he should win the fight. But I am still somewhat interested. Obviously Terence Crawford is a pound for pound fighter. You don't really see any pound for pound lists without Terence Crawford. In fact, some people have him rated as high as number 1. I don't agree with that, but personally I still believe he's a top pound for pound level fighter, so I'm definitely interested in watching him fight. And Kavaliauskas, obviously, he's an unbeaten contender. He is 21-0 with 1 draw. He also has a solid amateur background, and he obviously carries power. 17 knockouts in 22 fights isn't anything to sniff at, so he does carry that power, and Crawford will need to be on his P's and Q's. And listen, while Kavaliauskas, in my opinion, isn't exactly cream of the crop, he's a decent fighter with solid enough fundamentals. Ultimately, if Crawford comes on his P's and Q's, he should win this fight, and he should win it fairly comfortably. But like I said, the power elements, Crawford will need to be switched on for this fight. And, one of the criticisms from Terence Crawford, especially at welterweight, he's not really fought the highest level of competition, and he's in danger of being left behind by the PBC welterweights. If we look at what's going on in the PBC side of things, a lot of these guys are now starting to fight each other, and they're delivering good fights. Obviously Manny Pacquiao and Keith Thurman fought earlier this year, really good fight, did well at the box office. Errol Spence Jr. versus Sean Porter, they put on a classic. So these guys are now being involved in good fights, whereas Terence Crawford is being left on the outside, and he's, not fighting the highest level of competition. How long can you stay motivated while, fighting these type of guys? That is the question for Terence Crawford. And if Terence Crawford is struggling to get motivated for these type of opponents, that obviously enhances the risk of these type of fights, especially when you're facing a guy who can punch. So, like I've said, Crawford needs to be on his P's and Q's. And to be quite frank, I'm actually expecting a good performance from Terence Crawford. I've got to be honest, the last couple of Terence Crawford fights didn't really leave me that impressed. Obviously, last time out he fought Amir Khan. That was way back in April. He's not fought since then, so he's had an inactive year. And I didn't think he looked that great against Amir Khan, I've got to say. And obviously the fight before that, he fought Jose Benavidez, who wasn't even fully fit. He had a bad leg. And Crawford still really didn't look that good. He lost rounds in that fight. So I'm expecting a statement from Terence Crawford. He needs to create some buzz. He needs to have a really good performance against Egidijus Kavaliauskas. The last time I was really impressed with Crawford was against Jeff Horn. That was June 2018. So I do believe Crawford needs to make a statement against Kavaliauskas. And Kavaliauskas does present the style that he could do that. Kavaliauskas, he's an aggressive fighter who kind of follows people around in straight lines, and he'll look to unload his big power shots. He'll give Crawford the opportunities to walk him into shots, counter him, and maybe look good doing it. I think stylistically Kavaliauskas could make Crawford look rather good. Kavaliauskas, he doesn't bring the same dimensions as a Jose Benavidez, and he doesn't bring that speed that Amir Khan does. He's kind of a guy who comes forward in straight lines, throws the same combinations. He's somewhat predictable. So, listen, Terence Crawford needs to look good in this fight, in my opinion. He does. I think he needs a really good performance, and he's certainly capable of delivering it, providing his mindset's right. And like I've said, he's on his P's and Q's. He can't underestimate Kavaliauskas, because although he's kind of basic, he's not a bad fighter, like I've said. Decent enough fundamentals, good power, he looks fairly durable, and he himself, obviously, this is a big opportunity, so he's really going to be up for this. Kavaliauskas himself, in his last few fights, hasn't looked great. In his last fight, he drew to Ray Robinson. That was a really poor performance. I know Ray Robinson's kind of negative, but still, not exactly great preparation going into a Crawford fight. And even in a couple of fights before the Ray Robinson fight, I don't think Kavaliauskas looked too hot. Kavaliauskas' best performance was back in February 2018 against David Avanesian. He actually stopped Avanesian in that fight in, I believe, the 7th round. In hindsight, that was a really good performance because Avanesian went on to become the European champion, so that was a good win, and that was his career best performance. So if he can get back to that level, maybe he could give Crawford some problems, but I've not seen Kavaliauskas fight that well since, so maybe that was a one-off, maybe that was just a good style clash for him. We'll see what happens, but obviously I'm favouring Terence Crawford in this fight in a big way, and like I've said, I expect a really good performance. I think he's due one. I think a stoppage would really help him, to be honest, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Share your thoughts below. What do you make of this fight? Do you believe there's potentially an upset in the offings, or like me, do you believe Crawford will win this fight with a bit in hand? Share your thoughts below. Peace.